The First Amendment clause states that the government may not advance or inhibit religion or foster one religion over another.
Known as the Establishment Clause, it means that the government may not promote or affiliate itself with any religious teaching or organization. This is where the idea of the separation of church and state comes from.
Religious freedom, which is the First Amendment it protects, is juxtaposed with the idea of separation of church and state.
This clause is the origin of the controversy about prayer in public schools.
Teens we polled had mixed reactions to this issue. Many felt that prayer should be allowed in public schools.
And other teens felt that prayer should not be allowed at all. They felt that it's better to leave religion out of the picture than to take the risk of imposing our faith on others.
But does the separation of church and state disallow the youth of our country the right to pray in their own way?
Hi, I'm Steve.
And I'm Jamie.
And this is Real Faith TV.
Today we will be talking about prayer in school.
We'll check with some teens on the street to see what they thought, and also talk with Marissa, who will share with us her own convictions about prayer in school.
We'll take a look at Live the Life, our featured music video by Michael W. Smith.
We'll talk with our studio guests and see what they think about this often controversial topic.
But first, we'll go to the teens on the street and see what they had to say.
Do you think prayer should be allowed in schools?
No, because not everyone's usually the same religion.
That I haven't decided. I mean, I don't see how it would hurt anything, you know?
I really don't care.
It matters on like what's it for. If it has like a special meaning, like if something happened
for
to
the
somebody.
football team, you know?
Yeah, for the
Who cares? Let them, do their thing.
I think there's too many different religions that you can practice, and I think that if you allow time for all of that, then there will be no time for school.
I think it's everybody's personal opinion. If they want to do it, I think they should be allowed to do it.
I think the main reason is I think the kids will be able to deal with it better than people are giving them credit for, but the parents are going to get all edgy about it because some parents are really set in their ways, and that's just, I don't think it's worth it.
Just like keep it in like the Christian schools and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it should. Because in the Pledge of Allegiance it says God when you say it, so I think you should be able to pray in school.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely, absolutely, because just kids need it nowadays. Look at this world; it's very screwed up. And if we had prayer in school, they do prayer in Supreme Court, right? Before every single time they make a decision. Why can't we do it in school? I go to public school, and I wish we had prayer in school. Definitely.
I agree. I think, students, if you want to do it, then I think you should be allowed to.
I agree with you.
All right, well, first we'll see what our studio guests think. We have Beth, Dan, Kate, Becca, and Chris. And it seems there's a lot of different opinions out there about prayer in school.
This is a controversial topic. Ever since the Supreme Court removed officially sponsored prayer from public schools in 1962, people have been battling it out in the courts.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? Do you think that teens should be allowed to pray in public school, or should there be a moment of silence?
I've been in Catholic school my entire life, and we've had prayer every day of the week. And one of the people on the spot there in the interview said that, well, there wouldn't be time for school if we were praying. And to me, to say that, if we were praying, there wouldn't be time for actual schoolwork in Catholic school, that argument doesn't really hold to me because I've been in Catholic school my entire life and I seem to learn okay.
I know exactly what you mean.
I think prayer in school, as long as you're not forcing your religion on anyone else, why should there be a problem with you expressing what you believe to yourself or to
Exactly.
others?
Just do it on your own time. You can pray on your own time and you won't be interrupting anybody, won't be bothering anyone, won't be imposing anything. So yeah, you can pray in school. I think that should be fine, just as long as you don't bother anyone with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the one lady who said stuff about different religions, how it might be imposing on them, well, every religion that I know of has their own form of intimate moment, which is what prayer is with God. And if you're an atheist, you just have a moment of silence to collect your thoughts and be at one with yourself.
There doesn't have to be a specific, now it's time for Catholics to pray, now it's time for Muslims to pray. They could just say, okay, we're going to have a moment of silence now, do what you feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, Marissa's in our spotlight today, and she talked to us about prayer in school. So let's see what she had to say about that.
I think it's important for students to be themselves in school because a lot of the times people are trying to put on a false appearance to be accepted in a certain group or, to just be cool. They ended up totally blocking everything that they believe truly and person who they really are. And I think if you allow prayer in school, then Christians who truly believe that prayer is important in their lives and they love getting together and praying with other people, worshiping together, then they can form some bonds and solid friendships, and it would give them more self-confidence. In my own experience, in our Bible study group, some guys have been coming, and they would always be the quiet ones in class. They wouldn't join any of the discussions, but at Bible study, they come alive because they love discussing God and the Word, and it's something that they love so much that they can just be totally open about it. So I think it gives people self-confidence, and it builds friendships, and it makes them know that there are other Christians, and you are supported, and you feel belonging to a group. I don't believe that there are any negative consequences that can come from having prayer in school, but from what others told me that it could disturb people who don't believe in God or don't have a faith or have different faiths. But I don't think that's true because we worship in a classroom. It's a pretty quiet place. We don't go in the middle of the hallway or anything like that. Sometimes we go out in the courtyard. It's really nice, but we don't disturb others. St. Francis always says, preach the gospel and when necessary, use words. So I think the way that we worship is kind of a quiet evangelization. And when I open my locker and my friends see my Bible there, or they see the magnets and the prayers on the side of my locker, that it's kind of, showing that it's okay, or that I think I'm confident with myself that I can display that I'm a Christian and that they can know that. And my friends who don't believe in the Christian faith have looked there and said, oh, that's a nice magnet, or that's nice that you have that up there. They don't disagree, even though they disagree with it, they're not bothered by it because it's my personal space. I think that having a moment of silence is better as opposed to having a prayer or calling it a prayer, because for those who would normally rebel against saying prayers in school, or those who don't believe in it, would just sit there and be silent, and those who wanted to pray can pray. And by calling it a moment of silence, somebody cannot come up and say, we can't be praying in school, when you're calling it silence where all you have to do is just be silent for a moment.
It was really good. I mean, that moment of silence can just be anything. Just if you sit and talk and to your...
Then just think, just relax for a couple moments, and it helps you collect your thoughts, if anything, even if you don't want to pray, you can do something with it. You don't always have to be having distractions. It's nice to sometimes just have peacefulness.
Exactly. Now, some people say that our culture has gone steadily downhill since the courts took prayer out of schools. Do you guys agree or disagree with this statement, and why, or why not?
Well, I personally disagree with it. I mean, before 1962, we had 2 world wars. We had Korea. We were like in the middle of Vietnam, so we were already at the brink of what people would call hell at that point. And personally, if anything, I think our society has become better from that period of time.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's also, I think, there's like another standpoint is, if you look at the school shootings, I guess, if you look there, I mean, back when they prayed in school, I think it seems like they were less frequent or less violent. And now you can look at today, like they don't have prayer in schools, and it's like there's violence in school.
I would say that when they talk about removing prayer from schools, it's not just removing the act of praying. When they take prayer out of schools, they take all the ethics behind religion, all of the moral decisions and ideas behind it. And when you don't have those there, and if the parents at home, aren't teaching that kind of stuff to kids anyway, on top of it, a lot of kids don't really know what they stand for, what morals they have, and that kind of lays the perfect setting for situations, like Jamie said, with the shootings and school violence and things like that. When they take prayer out, it's not just removing prayer, there's a lot more too.
Yeah, I think just the whole teaching morals, that if you say, oh, well, we're not going to teach anybody, then that's when you get the violence and you get racism and you get hate, because people, they were never told that, you know what, just it's not right to, to judge people or to be violent and stuff. And when they take out any kind of moral teaching, I think, then that's where you have problems.
Exactly. I mean, if you were to ask a public school teacher while she was in a public school teaching, if you were to say, why shouldn't I kill someone? Her answer would have to be that agreed with
it's against
school.
the law.
It's against the law would
right.
be the basic answer. She can't say anything morally or ethically to go along with it because there's no prayer in schools.
Because of that division between church and state.
Church and state, exactly.
Okay. Well, it seems that a lot of people think that public schools have been declared religion-free zones, but in fact, there is much we can do as Catholic Christians to express our faith.
Students have the right to pray individually, or in groups, or to discuss their religious views with their peers.
Students can express their religious beliefs in the form of reports, homework, or artwork.
Let's go back to Marissa and see how she lived out her faith in school. Let's see what she had to say.
Well, in my sophomore year, a few seniors started up a group called Sparks. It was a Bible study group. It stands for Students Praising a Risen King. And I decided to go a few times. I wasn't too strong in my faith, so I wasn't really a faithful member. But then the next year, my junior year, a lot of my friends started doing it, and there was a solid 6 or 7 people who were in the group. And I started helping out with the Bible studies, planning one once a month. So I got to, have the feel for going to the club. And then this past year, my senior year, I led the group with another one of my friends, and we would do Bible studies every week, and more people would show up. And we never really ran into any controversies as far as having a prayer group in school. The only thing with our principal was that we couldn't have an advisor from the school because it was against the public school rules. Yet we did have to have somebody unofficially watching us. So we did it in one of our teacher's classrooms, and he said that we could be in his classroom, but he didn't have to be watching us specifically. And it turned out to be great because that classroom had a lot of traffic in and out because he was an English teacher. People would always come in after school, and they would see us over in the corner and be like, oh, what are they doing over there? And they would come and see our Bibles open and see us studying the Word, so they would come join us. And we decided to publicize it a little bit this year, putting some signs around the school. They first had to be approved by the principal, and she approved them. It said Sparks, come have Bible study, room 8210. It was pretty simple signs, nothing about like God or trying to force the religion on anybody. So we had a pretty good experience as far as a turnout in our group.
Have you guys, yourself or anybody that you know, ever felt inhibited or prevented from praying in school?
I don't think I've ever felt that in my school. I go to a public school, but when people pray, they pray on their own so that they're not imposing their beliefs on anyone else. And they really just don't make it a big deal. They just kind of, do it quietly. So nobody really cares if you do it.
Yeah, I agree. I go to public school also, and to me, prayer is sort of a personal thing. It's something that you can do on your own, and you can just be sitting there quietly. I mean, somebody might not even know that you're sitting there saying a prayer, so it's not like you feel like you can't pray. There's nothing really stopping you.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever refrained from praying because of pressure from others?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
It doesn't happen much in my school. It's a Catholic school, so not everybody there prays, but at the same time, the atmosphere is one where if you were to give someone a hard time about praying, it wouldn't be well taken.
Hey, you know what, Jamie? Most teens don't know that it's okay to distribute religious articles out to schoolmates, at the appropriate time and place, that is.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Students are not prohibited from sharing their faith with another student or from inviting them to their church.
As long as if the one person stops once someone else says no.
If it's not welcome, then of course you don't pressure someone or push too hard. But
student religious clubs in secondary schools must be permitted to meet and to have equal access to campus media, and they have to announce their meetings, their times and places.
In our last segment with Marissa, she shares with us some of her thoughts about being in a prayer group in school. So let's see how that helped her.
I think it's important for a Christian student to have the opportunity to worship in school. Some of my friends go to schools where they never even tried to start a prayer group or a Bible study because they always thought it was just against the school rules or it wouldn't be accepted because of what they've been told and because of our society today. What society tells us is that it's not okay to pray in public schools. It's not okay to be a good Christian in the society that we live in. And if a Christian student has that opportunity, then if they're really confident, then they can seize that opportunity and they end up bringing other Christians together. And it forms a good, solid group that can evangelize to the rest of the school. With my Bible study this year at school, we studied the Gospel of Luke. And in Luke, there's many stories about loving your neighbors. And for example, there's the Good Samaritan story. And there's a part on loving your enemies. And by studying those things, our group of 7 or 8 people could take those to heart, and we really believe them. And if we go out and spread that love to the other students in the school, not by going and preaching, but just by going up to somebody and saying hello, or in our hearts forgiving an enemy that we had once had, losing a grudge, and it makes us better people, and it spreads. How my Bible study has helped me is I have learned so much from my other friends because it's an interfaith group. It's not just one denomination, it's lots of denominations, but we all come together as Christians and we unify in the love of our God. And I learned so much of the other different denominations and the things that we do have in common. And I have built great friendships, and now I know that there are just so many other people out there who have a love for God and that want to share it and are so alive and have that desire to just go and preach the word and love it.
So about you guys, what has been your own experience of prayer in school? Do you guys pray? Or do you belong to a religious group that meets at school?
In my school, we really don't have religious groups that meet at school, but most of my friends go to the same church as I do, so we go to church services and all different projects together. But in terms of praying in school, yeah, we will. Sometimes, like before a final, if we're really nervous, or before even a field hockey game or something, we'll sit down and pray, just, and hope that we do our best with it.
I've prayed in school, but never with anyone, only on my own. Like I said before, it's a personal thing to me, something I like to do quietly and on my own. So even if I were to be sitting in school saying a prayer, no one would probably even notice.
I go to Catholic school, and we like to pray before we put on a performance for plays and stuff like that. We all get together as a big, large group. We all pray together before the performances, and it's really comforting.
Well, I also go to a Catholic school, and we have morning prayers, I guess you would say, we have a silence time before we go to school, and that helps me out because it just gets me settled down, get my thoughts together, just prepare me for the day.
Now, how has praying affected your life in school?
Praying, as far as in my school, in my school we pray often would be an understatement. Almost in every class, and in the morning, and at the end of the day, and at lunchtime, and really to the point where a lot of the kids take it for granted and don't really think about it, and to the point where myself, I've caught myself saying, I really don't want to sit here and do this, let me just go eat. And when I thought about that, it kind of opens your mind up a little bit to think about the fact that we pray all the time, but in public school, there's never a word of prayer said. I had to go to summer school, and when I went to summer school, it was all public school kids I was in there with. And we had a sister from McCorston come in to do the class. And when she was there doing the class, she said, let's start the class with a prayer. And to me, that was nothing unusual because we do it anyway every class. But the public school kids almost had a riot. They're like, what? What's prayer? Why are we starting with a prayer? I don't want to start with a prayer. I'm not going to pray. What is this? And that was just amazing to me that people would even, disagree with it right there.
Do you guys really think that we're a country of religious freedom if we're not able to express our prayer in schools, or in public schools, rather?
I still think we are. Because in my experience anyway, the public schools really haven't said you can't pray. They haven't come out and said it because nobody really imposes their beliefs on anybody else. And if you really feel like somebody's imposing your beliefs on you, then you tell them and they'll stop. Nobody's really into their religion so much that they're going to bother other people about it. So I think that we're still a country of religious freedom because there's not one religion, and it's not like we're persecuted if we don't follow one religion. We can follow whatever religion we want. We just have to make sure that we don't impose it on other people so that we don't get riots like they have in some other countries.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with her on that because you look at the news and you see the Middle Eastern countries. You got the Arabian, the Islams, and the Jewish people fighting each other. And over here, you got a lot more tolerance. So I believe we do have a sense of religious freedom, but in another sense, we don't have it because with all these new laws, church from state, and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I think that if you can't say out loud, like the teacher can't lead, like that, I understand how that might cause problems. I just think as long as they're allowed that moral teaching
to express and live the way you believe.
Yeah. As Catholic Christians, we follow the call to pray always.
Jesus' words, "I am with you always," reminds us that prayer is practicing the presence of God. It's a conversation between God and me.
And how awesome is that? In Paul's second letter to the Philippians, chapter 2, verse 15, we are reminded that we are children of God in a perverse generation, where we are called to shine like stars in the world.
Being a Catholic Christian not only means living out what we believe, but staying in contact with God through prayer, even in school.
That's right. So make sure you know what the law is, but also know your rights as a Christian to practice your faith.
And if you disagree with the law, do all you can to educate yourself about it and work to bring about a change.
What is your view on prayer in school? Please contact us and let us know what you think through our website.
Post your thoughts on our message boards or drop us an email. Our web address is www.realfaithtv.com, or you can drop us a line at 609-406-7402.
No matter what ruling our school has about prayer, we know that living our faith in our daily actions is the greatest witness to other people about our belief in Jesus. No one can take that away.
So keep on praying and living out your faith. Jesus will be with you.
God bless you, and we'll see you next time on Real Faith TV. All right, now
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers to help us better care for ourselves and the ones we love.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up one finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Son, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.